Hey, everybody. This is Mrs. Martin. I'm excited to be talking about some books for Mr. Casper's students this morning. We're talking about books here in the month of December, and it's crazy that it's already December. I don't know about you, but time has been flying by all of a sudden. It's a sunny day here this morning, and we don't have any snow on the ground, but nonetheless, it is winter time, and we are thinking about winter break coming up really soon. So I'm hoping that some of the books I share today might be some books you'll be interested in checking out for over that winter break time. Before we get to that, though, I don't know about you, but it is a little harder to find time to read these days between the distance learning and the work that you're doing. And I don't know, there's something about being home all the time that suddenly finding the time to read just for fun can be a little bit harder to manage. And so I was thinking about this and thought I would talk a little bit on this book talk about establishing reading habits now that you're at home a little bit more than usual. One way to keep that reading habit up is to have reading materials on hand at all times. And that doesn't have to be a chapter book. It could be a graphic novel or comic. It could be that you're reading some stuff online. It could be that you have an ebook on your iPad, or it could be that you're checking out books from our library or the public library. But just knowing that you have something next that you're going to be reading, so that when you do have free time and you're in the mood to read something, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, having that next thing ready is, I think, a great way to develop that reading habit, because then you aren't searching for something when you're in the mood to read something. You already have it ready to go. So just keep in mind what those options are and have some of those things ready for the time when you do, have free time to read. Another way is making reading a part of your daily schedule. If it's something that you're doing for your classes, of course, that's one thing. But if reading for fun, maybe it's just reading the back of the cereal box in the morning as you're having breakfast. Maybe you read a couple, go to a couple websites in the morning, to kind of wake up and check out some information. Maybe you have some downtime in the evening, and so you read before you go to bed. But kind of finding that time of day that works best for you. Maybe you're spending some time outside, and so putting in your earbuds and listening to something, audiobook wise, is a way to connect reading to your schedule. Considering your hobbies and your interests, if you have an interest in music or art or crafting, whatever it is, finding things to read about that help you to learn more about those topics. Those are the things that you care about. As I'm sharing books today, you will, I hope, find at least one that sound good to you, something that you might want to read. And of course, we connect to those because they're of interest to us, or they connect to something that we care about for some reason. So look for those things that connect to your hobbies and your interests. Ask yourself, what do I care about? If you love to spend time with your pets, find books, find articles, find information to read more about animals, for example. Connect to those interests. Reading becomes more interesting, as it says here, when we read about topics we care about. Lastly, thinking about how to get recommendations for things to read. It doesn't have to just come from, from me or from a teacher. It could come from friends as well. And so ask your classmates and your friends what they are reading, because that's a great way to connect to more things to read too. Since we're here to talk about reading, the Scholastic Book Fair is all done. It was going on online in the month of November. Thank you to everybody who did make some purchases or make some recommendations for our library. There are a lot of books that we bought to add to our collection. These are just a few of them that'll be available in the library, I would guess, even as early as next week. So please make sure that you're checking our library catalog. We should have a bunch of them listed on that top banner in Destiny Discover. And we'd love for you to place some of these books on hold. You might be the very first student to read some of these books. Check them out, place them on hold, wait for that message on Schoology from Mrs. Kump to come and pick them up at that cart outside the main office, and let us know what you think of some of these brand new books to the library from the book fair. Well, let's hear about a few books that are already in the library that you could check out right this second if you wanted to. This one by Booth Tyrell, we've had to replace a couple copies of this one because when students have checked this one out, I think it's just been a popular one that either it hasn't come back or it's come back and it's been very well loved. So I hope that you like this book too. This is a story of a teenage kid who just can't seem to get a break. He and his mom and his younger brother are living in a homeless shelter at the beginning of this story, and they've had a rough time. They've had some situations in their life that have, resulted in their being where they are. His dad is in jail. His mom has kind of she's just made some choices that have you know gotten them into some kind of rough situations too. And Tyrell really wants things to go well for his family. He also recognizes that things could be better, I guess is the best way to put it. He has a girlfriend. That's a big part of this story. It's a girl who really supports him. He does not feel that he's good enough for her. He always feels like he's just right on the edge of doing the wrong thing or making the wrong choice. And so he's worried that he's going to lose this girlfriend, even though he cares about her a lot. There's also another girl in the story. He meets her at the homeless shelter, and she's, interested in him, clearly. He doesn't know what to do about that exactly. But he is hoping to make some money to get himself and his family kind of on their feet. He doesn't want to live in a homeless shelter. His mom and his brother don't either. He wants them to be in a better situation, as does his mom. So he's hoping to score some money somehow. But he also worries that he's going to make some choices that could land him in a bad spot. And he worries he's going to do some things that could end him up following in the footsteps of his dad. So this is that story. It's about a kid who wants to make the right calls, is worried he won't, and it's about making choices and how those choices sort of take him down different paths. Tyrell by Booth. There is some pretty strong language in this story. It's a pretty mature story. It's a book that certainly I'd only recommend to 8th grade because it's definitely more of a high school read. So just be aware of that. Certainly things that you guys can handle, but it's a really popular book, and I hope that you like it. Strike 3, You're Dead by Josh Burke. This is part of a collection of stories, and this is the first in the series. I really liked this one because it's got sports and mystery combined. It's a story of a kid named Lenny who loves baseball but can't really play the sport. He's one of those kids who, watches games religiously, and he and his two friends, Mike and other Mike, that's what he calls them, the three of them camp out on a sofa out on the lawn. His dad, I think, is one of the dads, has set them up on this outdoor arrangement, right? They've got a TV and a couch outside, and they set it up so they can watch the Phillies games because they're all huge fans. And so that's what they do on their weekends and weeknights as they tune into these games. And they are making calls and they're acting like they're the announcers during these baseball games. Well, Lenny enters this contest to become an armchair announcer, and he wins. And the prize for winning the contest is he gets to be a live broadcaster for one inning at an actual Phillies game. Kind of dream come true for a teenage kid who is a huge fan, especially of his favorite team. But the game goes horribly wrong when, before Lenny even gets to announce his inning, there's a brand new pitcher to the team who, fresh out of the minors, drops dead on the pitching mound. Everybody is saying it's a heart attack that's killed him, but Lenny has a hunch, and he has reasons for this hunch, that something else has gone wrong, that something else actually happened. And so he and his Mikes, right, the two friends, decide they're going to investigate and find out what happened to this guy. They are certain that there is something more suspicious going on here, and that it is not a heart attack, but someone wanted this guy dead. If you love mysteries, if you love sports, there's also a lot of humor to this book, ironically. Strike Three, You're Dead by Josh Burke. And if you've read this one, of course, I can't remember the name of the next book in the series. That would be too easy, but you should check it out. It's by the same author. We've got that one too. This one I threw in just for absolute plain fun. If you love Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Big Nate, if those are your kinds of reads, and if you love just a fun, lighthearted, funny book, and you're looking for something super not serious, I would recommend The Odd Squad. I'm going to show you a quick video to introduce you to these characters.
Three, two, one, go! There's Nick, who's freakishly short, and Molly, who's freakishly tall, and me, who's freakishly normal. I was born with a tail! The guidance counselor says we're loners. That's why she wants us to join Safety Patrol. No! Yes. The school janitor is our advisor. He teaches us spy stuff so we can go after Roy. There's Hobbit people, a spineless superhero, spleen stealing, and lots of shrugging. The end. Seriously, it's awesome. Seriously. We are the Odd Squad! Seriously.
Oh, a bunch of kids who don't fit in anywhere else, and they become kind of this ragtag group of kids together. Really funny, and yes, very Diary of a Wimpy Kid style. Check that one out by Michael Fry. Everything, Everything by Nicola Yoon. This was a movie a few years ago that maybe you've seen, but this is just a perfect story for our pandemic time because it's about a girl who is allergic to the world, basically. She has a severe immunodeficiency disease. It has resulted in her never leaving her house, or at least not for the last 15 years. She's got this kind of rare disease that has kept her inside because if she were to go outside, she'd be exposed to all these germs and it would break down her immune system and it could kill her. So it's been her and her mom and her nurse Carla, and that's it. She's lived in her house her entire life. But one day, this moving truck arrives next door and she sees this guy get out of the truck, and he's this tall kid wearing all black. He's got a black shirt and black jeans and a black cap. And he catches her staring at him through the window, and he stares back, and everything changes. She finds out his name is Ollie, and he stops over to the house, and he wants to meet her, and she has to explain through her nurse and her mom that she can't come outside and she can't have him come in, but he's pretty persistent. And it's the story of these two kids falling in love with each other. It's a really sweet story, and it's a really fun story of a girl who, you know, has lived in this bubble all her life, and she suddenly wants out. She hasn't wanted that before. She's been content to be where she is in this very safe world that she's been in, and suddenly she's willing to kind of risk everything. Everything. That's the book. Give this one a try. If you have read The Sun is Also a Star, this is the same author that wrote that book. And I guess I was in the mood for love when I was putting this book talk together because my last book is a holiday story, but also a love story. This book, What Light by Jay Asher, is a story of a girl whose family owns a Christmas tree farm. They live most of the year in the state of Oregon, and they run the Christmas tree farm in Oregon. But during the Christmas tree season, or I should say the Christmas season, They pack up a bunch of those trees in Oregon, they cut them all down, and they drive out to California, and they put together a lot for all the California people who don't have Christmas trees that they can get in their own farms. And so they live part of their lives. She lives part of her life in Oregon, and then she lives part of her life for a few months every year in the state of California selling these trees with her family. So Sierra is her name, and she lives two lives throughout the book. It's her life in Oregon, and then her life during Christmas, right, in California. And when she leaves one, she always has to miss out on the other, and she kind of knows people in both states. She has two different lives, and that hasn't been a huge deal for her up until now when she meets this guy named Caleb. Caleb is not the guy that you want to bring home to meet your family because he's got this reputation. He made a huge mistake, and it has followed him for a long time. Everyone who meets Caleb knows what he did, or at least what people say he did. And she has decided that she doesn't care about that. She sees beyond that. She has fallen for him, and she wants to be with him. And this is that love story about the two of them and how they're going to try to make that work. I loved the setting of this book, the fact that we have the two different places, the Christmas tree farm. I think that's such an interesting idea. And then this love story where Sierra is going to have to try to decide if she can convince others that this is a person she should be with, even when they're not going to believe that he's the right person for her. What do you do? Do you follow your heart, or do you listen to those who have known you for your whole life? What Light by Jay Asher. And if you're looking for a holiday story, this would be a great one. I hope something I shared today sounded like a good book to you, and I hope that you'll put something on hold, whether it's one of these or a book from another book talk, a book that a friend recommended. Go to that Destiny Discover homepage, look at all the books that we have. Miss Kump has been working hard to put collections up there and to put out lots and lots of books for you to shop. So send me a message on Schoology if you need help finding something terrific to read, especially because winter break's coming up and you will need something to do. Hope that you're doing well and staying safe and healthy, and happy reading.